We know that Putin has made very few visits outside of his borders in recent months. Just tell us why this one is so pressing for him.
Well, Karen, this is a really critical visit for the Russian president. It was late yesterday that the Kremlin confirmed that the president would indeed be visiting the UAE and Saudi Arabia today before making his way to Iran on Thursday to meet with President Raisi as well. With regards to exactly what is on the agenda here, in the UAE, President Putin is expected to meet with Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the UAE president, and the readout from the Kremlin suggests that the two sides are going to, quote, review the current state of multifaceted bilateral cooperation and the prospects for the further expansion of ties, as well as current international issues with a focus on the situation in the Middle East. In Riyadh, President Putin is also going to be meeting with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Again, the Kremlin saying they're expected to discuss, quote, bilateral cooperation in trade, economic and investment areas. It's important to point out, though, that energy will, of course, be central to this conversation, particularly in the aftermath of last week's OPEC Plus meeting. We know that Saudi Arabia, the UAE and, of course, Russia are critical allies in that OPEC Plus alliance. And these countries have really grown closer together in recent years. They have shared expanding trade and investment ties. And it is critical for the Russian president to continue to enhance these relationships, particularly in the aftermath of his war in Ukraine. And again, important to point out here that this will be the first time that the Russian leader has indeed visited these Gulf states since the outbreak of that war. It's also important to mention here that Saudi Arabia and the UAE have not ratified the statute that governs the International Criminal Court, which has, of course, indicted the Russian president for his alleged war crimes. That means that he is indeed free to travel to Saudi Arabia and the UAE without fear of capture. Of course, as I mentioned, tomorrow, President Putin will also visit Iran to meet with President Raisi, and this is an important and growing relationship for Russia. The two countries have also grown closer together, and it has been said that Iran has been a critical trading partner, particularly when it comes to weapons for Russia as it continues its onslaught in Ukraine. So there is a lot to focus on as these meetings get underway, but indeed a very rare visit for the Russian president into the Gulf.